know it's easy to feel like you're not getting anywhere sometimes. I've had my fair share of moments when I doubted myself or felt like I was stuck in place. But let me tell you something that I've learned over time. Every step counts, even the small ones. You see, when I first started out, I was full of ideas and dreams, but I had no idea how to make them happen. I didn't have a clear plan or all the skills I needed. Honestly, there were days when I thought, what's the point? This isn't working. It felt like I was walking through mud, and no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't making the progress I thought I should be. But here's what I realized after some time. Growth isn't always visible right away. Sometimes you're laying down roots in ways you can't even see. Maybe you're learning lessons that will only make sense later. Maybe you're building inner strength, even on days when it feels like you're moving backwards. I remember a time when I was struggling with a big challenge. I was stuck on a problem, spinning my wheels, trying to figure out the right solution. And then a mentor said something to me that shifted my whole perspective. She told me, the most important part of growth is being willing to keep going, even when you don't have all the answers. First, I didn't quite get it. I was so focused on the end result, the success I wanted, that I wasn't giving myself credit for the progress I'd already made. She reminded me, it's okay to be uncertain. Just don't give up. Keep showing up, and you'll figure it out. And honestly, that advice stuck with me. I realized I didn't need to have everything figured out, but I did need to keep moving forward, no matter how slow it seemed. So, I began to focus on taking small actions every day, even when they didn't feel like much. And, bit by bit, those little actions added up. What I've come to understand is this: success is rarely an overnight thing. Whether it's building a career, learning a new skill, or working on your personal growth, the key is persistence. Keep showing up, keep doing the work, even when it's hard. And don't be afraid to make mistakes along the way. Mistakes are just opportunities to learn and grow. One thing I'll always remind myself, and I want to share with you, is this: you're doing better than you think. It's easy to compare yourself to others and feel like you're falling behind. But I promise, everyone has their own journey. Some people move faster. Some people take longer, and that's okay. You don't need to rush. What matters is that you keep taking steps forward. And if you ever feel lost or unsure, remember, it's part of the process. Look, I'm still learning and growing every day. I don't have all the answers, and there are still days when I get frustrated. But I've learned that it's okay to be where I am. As long as I keep moving forward, no matter how small the steps, I'm on the right path. So, if you're ever feeling stuck or discouraged, remember that progress is not always linear. Some days will be better than others. But the most important thing is to keep going. Because, trust me, the journey is worth it. You got this. One step at a time. All right? So here's the thing. As I look back on my journey, I can't help but smile at how many times I thought I'd reached a dead end. It's like I'd walk down one path, only to hit a wall, and I'd think, is this it? Did I mess up? And there were moments when I truly felt lost. Like I'd made the wrong choices or wasn't where I was supposed to be. But here's the surprising thing. Those dead ends and detours? They weren't mistakes. They were part of the process. Let me share a bit more about one of those moments. Something that still stands out in my mind. A while ago, I had an idea. A big idea. One that I thought was the perfect solution. I was confident. I jumped into it full speed ahead. I did everything I thought was right: research, planning, execution. But after a few months, things started to crumble. The plan didn't work out. The results weren't what I expected. I felt devastated. It's easy to think, I failed. It's over. But here's the twist. Failure isn't the end of the story. It's a lesson in disguise. If you can look at your mistakes as opportunities to grow and learn, that's when real change happens. I had two choices at that point: to quit or to learn. I chose to learn. And I'm so glad I did. I spent a lot of time reflecting on what went wrong. I asked myself tough questions. What could I have done differently? What did I miss? What did I learn about myself in the process? And more importantly, how could I adjust my approach moving forward? I didn't have all the answers immediately. It wasn't like I had a magic formula that fixed everything overnight. But bit by bit, I began to see what I could improve and what I needed to let go of. And here's the most important lesson I want to share with you. It's not about getting everything perfect. It's about growing from every experience, good or bad. Every time you stumble, you get a little bit stronger. Every time you try and fail, you understand yourself a little bit more. That's the beauty of life. The road isn't always straight. It's full of bumps, turns, and unexpected detours. But those detours often lead you to places you wouldn't have reached if you just kept going down the safe path. I started to see setbacks as stepping stones. The harder things were, the more they taught me. And eventually, I realized, if I hadn't faced those challenges, I wouldn't be where I am now. All right, here we are, part 3 of the story. By now, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Setbacks, persistence, and all of that. But what about the moments when it feels like the universe is really testing you? What happens when things start falling apart, and you wonder if it's even worth it? I've been there. And let me tell you, sometimes life really does throw curveballs. It feels like everything you've been working for starts slipping away, or you start questioning why you even started in the first place. When everything feels uncertain, that's when it's the hardest to keep going. But here's the thing I've learned over time. Those challenging moments, they might be the most important ones of all. It was a few years ago when I had one of those everything's falling apart times. Things weren't just difficult, they were overwhelming. I had multiple projects going on, each one requiring more of me than I could give. I felt like I was spread so thin, trying to juggle everything, but I couldn't keep up. And then, out of nowhere, something unexpected happened. One of the biggest projects I was working on didn't go the way I thought it would. The results were underwhelming. Honestly, it was a huge blow to my confidence. In that moment, I started to doubt everything. Was I on the wrong path? Was I just not cut out for this? I couldn't shake the feeling of disappointment. I spent a lot of time asking myself, what's the point of trying anymore? But here's where it gets interesting. After a while, I realized something important. The hardest moments are often the ones that push us to grow the most. In fact, some of the greatest lessons I've learned came from the moments when things didn't go as planned. So what did I do? I let myself feel frustrated and upset, but I didn't let myself stay there. I took a step back and gave myself space to breathe. I realized that I wasn't failing because things weren't perfect. I was learning. I was becoming more resilient. I decided to take the time to reflect on what had happened without judgment. I asked myself, what can I learn from this? What's this moment teaching me? And over time, I began to see it more clearly. I hadn't failed. I had simply encountered an obstacle. And obstacles are just opportunities to become better at what you do. Here's what I learned from that challenging time, and what I hope you can take away. 2. It's okay to struggle. Life isn't always going to be smooth sailing. In fact, sometimes it's the rough waters that teach you the most about yourself. Struggling doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. And human beings are resilient. You're allowed to feel disappointed, frustrated, or lost sometimes. But don't let those feelings stop you from moving forward. Give yourself permission to rest. One of the hardest lessons I learned was that rest is just as important as hard work. When things get tough, we often push ourselves harder, thinking that's the solution. But sometimes, the best thing you can do is take a step back. Allow yourself to rest, recharge, and clear your mind. That's where true clarity and growth can come from. The unexpected challenges are often where your growth lies. Sometimes, things don't go the way you want them to, and that's okay. In fact, those challenges may be exactly what you need. It's through navigating the unexpected that you build strength, problem-solving skills, and resilience. Don't be afraid to reassess. Sometimes, when you hit a roadblock, it's a sign that you need to reassess. What's working? What's not working? Are you on the right path? Or do you need to adjust your direction? It's okay to pivot and change course if that's what's necessary. You're not locked into one path forever. Life is full of opportunities to course correct. Trust your ability to bounce back. I learned that I have the strength to rise, even when things feel tough. And so do you. There's something powerful about realizing that you have the ability to pick yourself up and keep going. Every time you face difficulty and push through it, you become more capable, more confident, and more prepared for the next challenge. Don't let fear hold you back. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, it can all be paralyzing. But here's the truth. Fear is just a feeling, and it doesn't control you unless you let it. Every time you face fear and decide to move forward anyway, you build courage. The more you face those fears, the smaller they become. A final thought: why it's all worth it. As I reflect on that tough season of my life, I can honestly say that it was a turning point. It wasn't the success or the praise that made it a defining moment. It was the fact that I kept going. Even when it felt like everything was falling apart, I stayed the course, learned from the pain, and trusted that eventually things would work out. And they did. Slowly, things began to turn around. I grew stronger, more confident in my ability to navigate challenges, and more grateful for the lessons learned along the way. But here's the real secret. Growth doesn't happen when everything is perfect. Growth happens when things aren't going according to plan. Growth happens when you decide, in the face of uncertainty and hardship, that you won't give up. You won't quit, no matter how hard it gets. And that's when you'll look back and realize how far you've come. So, when life feels overwhelming or things seem to fall apart, remember this: it's part of the process. The obstacles, the struggles, the setbacks, they're all part of your journey. And each one is helping you build a future that's even more amazing than you can imagine right now. You're stronger than you think. Keep going. Let's enrich our vocabulary with some new words. Overwhelming, meaning something that is too much to handle or too intense. Example: it was an overwhelming amount of work, and I couldn't keep up. Resilient, meaning the ability to recover quickly from difficulties or tough situations. Example: even when things go wrong, she's resilient and finds a way to keep going. Juggle, meaning to manage multiple things at the same time. Example: I was juggling multiple projects and trying to meet all my deadlines. Setbacks, meaning a problem or delay that makes progress slower or more difficult. Example: the setback at work made me feel like I wasn't making progress. Pivot, meaning to change direction or approach in order to adapt to new circumstances. Example: after the initial plan didn't work, we had to pivot and try something new. Resilient, meaning the ability to bounce back or recover from tough situations. Example: despite all the challenges, he remained resilient and never gave up. Clarity, meaning clear understanding or insight into something. Example: taking a break helped me gain the clarity I needed to move forward. I'm so glad you spent this time with me. If you liked the story, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Take care, and see you next time.